All right, so here we are on another episode of Salient Points number 43 for October 26, 2021. I am your commander of arms, commander of ceremonies, Carlos Macias. That's your host for this here fine program. Please check out wegotcoms.com and also click like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. As per usual this time around, Luis Mendez on the Wheels of Steel. Thank you for joining us, sir, from DTLA.
Happy to be here.
All right, thank you very much. As not per usual, and as you guys could probably see from the video here, but we have our first reasonably hyped crossover with Deo Blas. Thank you for filling in, sir.
Hey Carlos, hi Luis, how you guys doing today?
And of course, you're filling in for Dalen over here because he's doing something to Mountains. He's like a dungeon master or something. Is that what it is? Or dungeon crawler guy? He's doing D&D. He's doing D&D. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, sir. Look, and you know what? I think this is a good episode for you to do your first crossover, Deo, because Halo Infinite, man, that trailer dropped yesterday. I know we're in today, right? But this drops on a Tuesday. So yesterday, we got a new Halo Infinite campaign trailer. It was a nice little beefy trailer. What was it, like 5 or 6 minutes or so, or it was
6 minutes.
Yeah. My impressions of it are it looks a little cleaner, it looks a little nicer. I'm kind of just as hyped as before, but I did notice Steven Totillo out there on the Twitter Nation. He said they Far Cry-ified it, and I'm like, I don't know. How you feeling about the trailer? Do you feel like that's what happened? Are they Far Cry-ifying this thing?
Yeah, I think there might be a grain of truth to that. Just the way that how the mission layout is and how the map layouts are for that, from what we've seen anyway. It might be like that. I don't think it's as open world as a Far Cry map is supposed to be, though. I think there's like segments of the ring that you're supposed to do these missions in and upgrade your Master Chief guy with, and then you move on to a different part of the ring. But it seems that way.
I do like my games very critical pathy. If you guys have heard the podcast before, I love my critical path. So I'm kind of like my Halo. The original Halo wasn't very like that focused though. It kind of had a little bit of open worldness feel to it, a little bit in some of the sections. But I did appreciate that at some point in the trailer, the Master Chief is like, "Fuck this shit! I'm throwing a rocket into this like settlement or whatever." Yes. I like that. He has like a hook now or grapple. It seems like there's a lot of grappling and throwing crap around there. He's throwing around a lot of explosives and stuff like that. But do you feel it looks that much better? I feel like, I don't know, man. It looks a little cleaner. I don't know if necessarily much better than what they showed last year.
There's a lot more grit and there's a lot more detail in what they showed compared to 15 months ago when they dropped the first campaign trailer.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not screaming like next gen. Like it's not like a Forza Horizon 5 or like the new Horizon game.
Yeah.
It's not like that, which is crazy because Horizon is like cross play, so it should look good on both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. And the Xbox for Halo Infinite, it doesn't look like that, but I'm willing to forgive a little bit of that as long as the sandbox and the gameplay is good, because that
and I know you kind of had a tweet out there. I don't know if you were retweeting or something like that, but you're like, this is what a year a difference makes. And I'm like, I had to squint. I got to be honest, man. I had to squint. I was like, what the fuck? What are you guys looking at? It looks a little more detailed. And Craig's got a beard now, right? He has a beard now
and a mohawk.
And a mohawk, so they clean him up a little bit. That little sword guy looks kind of awesome, man. I know I saw you online. You're saying I'm ready to take this boss down, and I'm ready to. I'm ready to. Luis, any thoughts, man? I know you're not the biggest Halo fan, and I know we gotta kind of help you get through these games, right? Co-op and otherwise.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say not the biggest Halo fan because I just haven't. Dale, close your eyes, close your ears. I've never played a Halo game, so.
What? Damn, it's upsetting to me too.
I will buy you this game. Day and day, I will buy you this game.
Tell him it's on Game Pass though. Just give him a Game Pass.
Free with an asterisk, but no, I grew up not in a non-Xbox household. By the time I was able to get to those games, I was like, I'm already over here on like the PS4 or PS3 or whatever. So I just never got around to it. And Carlos has been saying, yo, like, I'll help you Game Pass, we'll go through the campaign, but I'm just like, I'll play Ghost of Tsushima.
Do it. Just do it. Did you get a chance to check out the trailer, Luis? You get a chance?
No, I did not. The most I've honestly seen is just snippets of stuff here and there going through my Twitter feed. But I haven't seen much of the game at all, but the stuff that I have seen, it looks very pretty. Looks really pretty.
It looks
The
clean.
gameplay
It
looks pretty
looks
fun.
clean. It looks clean. It has its own, like, we did talk about it on a reasonably hype, but it is very like its own style of gameplay, its own like first person shooter aspect to it or whatever. That's kind of cool. So I'm excited. I'm very excited that it's day one for free with asterisks, right? With the subscription and Game Pass and all that. But I'm pretty hyped, man. The trailer, I gotta say, and I think you might have, I'm kind of ripping your Twitter off right here, Dale, but I think, well, oh, was it you or someone else? Someone else was saying that it's one of those things where if you were convinced, you're convinced. If not, this kind of is probably not gonna do a lot for you. And I felt kind of the same way, man. It's kind of like, I'm in because I'm in the Halo verse. I want it in my life. But other than that, right? Did you feel like it could convince people? I mean,
No, not really. Like honestly, if I were to debut out the Halo Infinite as it is like right now, I wouldn't have shown what they showed. Like
this one with
like
this last one,
right?
Yeah,
no, not like that. I've been kind of unsatisfied with how the media rollout has been for Halo Infinite to begin with. Like they should have started this stuff like 2 months ago, first of all.
Yeah,
and today a lot of people were expecting and hyping, maybe overhyping, for what they were expecting to see was going to blow them away. Like this is the reason why you own an Xbox Series X, and it might be someone like the console haters that talk hella smack and say like, oh yeah, this isn't worth it. But the trailer they showed today wasn't going to convince a lot of those like PlayStation diehards or like people that are on PC. Like, oh, I don't need an Xbox Series X. I could just pick it on my PC. Like that, it's not going to convince them to pick up the console itself. I also like the way that the trailer was shown looked like it was meant for like investors. If that makes any sense. Like I don't know if you guys remember when Red Dead Redemption 1 came out. They didn't even actually show like a hype trailer. They just showed like a narration trailer saying like, oh, this is the West. And
I remember even like Spike TV, that was a thing, right, back in the day. Spike TV or something like that. They actually did like, I remember staying up for it. Like I think it was when did that game come out? It was I was a little older. I was thinking I was in high school or something, but no, I was an adult, I suppose. And I remember like they put it at midnight because it's an adult kind of cutscene or whatever. And they really just played a couple cutscenes sliced together. It was like a 30-minute Spike TV, and I remember staying up for it. I was like, I need to see this movie. They're talking about a movie, and it's just the cutscenes of Red Dead, which looked amazing. But yeah, it was kind of a weird like rollout, right? But even that was a little more exciting. But that one was a little more exciting in the sense that look at these graphics, right? Look how amazing it looks. Whereas Halo Infinite is kind of like, me and you are sold obviously on this, but honestly, like as far as hype levels are concerned, for someone that's not the biggest Halo fan, this could have been a little underwhelming, and I don't blame them for saying, what the fuck have you guys been doing for the last year?
Yet again. Of salt, like on Twitter and everything, saying, like this, what have you been doing for a year? What have you been doing for 6 years? What have you been doing with $500 million for 6 years? Like I've been seeing all of that. And like that trailer they showed today is not going to convince people who are super critical about those speaking points. And like it was just so dry, the way that it was presented. Like they could have shown us like a snippet or like a horizontal slice of maybe
a little vertical slice, like kind of how other companies do it, right? They were actually like trying to show off gameplay.
Like or like do a mission at night. Like that would have been exciting because that shows off your engine and shows off like how the enemies react during a different part of the day. That would have been really cool. And then maybe Shadow drop like a demo, like a free
it's a little weird because these are the kind of things like people are like they kind of want this. They want a gameplay demo, right? They don't want a vertical slice. They don't want a hype video. But dude, I still remember Halo 3 when he did the little drop. He dropped into the ground and like pull up the shield when bombs were coming to him. Like that thing, I still remember that thing. Halo 3, it was okay. It was good. It had the forge and all that. But the hype for it was just intense. And like for Halo Infinite, it's just, I think it even like doubled down on the slight disappointment where there's like, you kind of showed us the same thing as last year. But now you like cleaned it up a little bit, like you said earlier, like kind of gritified it a little bit, like
they might want to be holding like the storyline like closer to their chest because they haven't been revealing a lot of it. Because I'm pretty sure like the Northwest, foresty setting isn't the only place you're going to be playing this game. I hope not. Anyway.
Are you saying are you saying they might do a little switcheroo, a la Halo 2, a la Metal Gear Solid 2, where they'll give us Raiden and
that's dangerous. That's dangerous.
And he's holding his junk because that's the only way he can get through without being seen. I like this. I don't know. We'll find. Look, I'll be there day one. I know you're gonna be there day one. Luis, you're gonna be there day one as well. Game Pass.
Yeah, that's a rough one because I don't know like well because I know you do this right
Yeah.
like if I'm going to pick up on a franchise late in the game then I do want to go play the other ones first. So I would
Okay.
like to go play through the other Halos, but I don't know how long that's going to take me.
They're not too
Um,
long. Let's
Yeah.
play through them. Let's play through them on normal. Me and Dalen tried to play through them on
yeah, don't do
legendary.
that.
We went down to heroic. Then we're like, you know what? Fuck this. We're just gonna play it on normal and let's just have fun with
There's
it.
no
So,
shame. No
yeah,
shame
there's
in
no
that.
Yeah,
at
I
some
just want
point.
a story. I don't need to be challenged in
Yeah.
any way. And just to
No.
clarify, I'm not like a. It's not that I didn't play them because I was like hardcore console, like PlayStation fanboy or
Yeah.
anything. I was just a child that couldn't afford both
Yeah.
systems, so I had to make a choice, right?
Okay, that's reasonable.
Yeah, so that was it.
All right, I got you. Halo. You know what? I don't ever think. I think the first time I had a copy of Halo 1 was like on PC, man. I think that was like, so this was years later, right? Like '04 or '05 or
Yeah.
something like that, where they finally released it. But yeah, Halo 1 was like me going to a friend's house, like before school or after school. I'm like, I'm going to go by my friend's house and we're going to play Halo. But yeah, Halo 2, I think I might have had an Xbox. Yeah, I had an Xbox by then because it was Xbox Live, and I remember playing in the garage in a tiny, like probably 27-inch TV, the boob tube, the CRTs, and we're like, yes, we can all be online at the same time in these little squares, on the TV. So that was a whole big old thing at the time. But look, Halo Infinite, I mean, I haven't really been following too much of the hype, whether it's pro good or bad. But to me, the trailer looks okay, and it is definitely Far Cry-ified. So at the very least, it'll be different, right, than a Call of Duty, where it's definitely like it's a corridor shooter, right? You're going down hallways from action scene to action scene, right? So we'll see what happens. I did want to mention real quick before we move on that they did say that the Halo games on Xbox 360, their online components are going away January 22. Any thoughts on that, Dale? Like, we're all playing. This is not to say Master Chief Collection is good, right? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so that's the whole plan was to patch up Master Chief Collection while those are being sunset. So, and Master Chief Collection right now is in season 8. It's the last season, and it's been running really well, and the population has been pretty stable. Ever since they introduced mods, it should probably go up a little bit more. So I'm okay with it.
It was running like trash, and I will say last time, every time
terrible.
I like how it's been running on trash. Like we're working on it. We're working on it. It's been out for how long now? 3 or 4 years, and it's still kind of like it still lags a little bit. Like we've been playing Halo online co-op or whatever. It still kind of lags a little bit, and it's not perfect. 20 years in, and they're still trying to figure shit out. But hopefully they'll tighten the bolts soon enough. Luis, I guess we'll move on. We'll move on to your thing because I know you're not a Halo hater, right? Let's clear that up. Not a Halo hater,
Just
but just
Halo ignorant maybe.
okay. I like it.
Yeah.
So what's your big story for this past week, Luis?
So this made a tiny bit of a buzz on the Twitter sphere out there, but GTA the Trilogy, the definitive edition, say that 3 times fast. The trailer shows no signs of Confederate flags in it. So there was a character, I don't know if you guys remember him, but his name was it was a Phil. God damn, I just
Phil Cassidy?
blanked on it. Phil Cassidy. There you go.
I mean, you put
Yeah,
it on the
should've
rundown,
just-
Luis.
Yeah, but he shows up in the trailer for maybe a second or less. And he was a character. I don't know if you guys remember him, but he was an arms dealer. He was kind of not the sharpest knife in the tool shed or whatever. But yeah, and he had a Confederate flag on his shirt. The new design shows it with just like a skull, not even a skull and crossbones or anything. It's like the lamest design of all time, just a little tiny skull. And I guess people are kind of wondering, did they pull it just for the trailer? Did they pull it from the game? What's going on? So, I guess a favorite of both of you guys, Colin Moriarty, taxation on Twitter, he said, quote, "This is stupid because it suggests that not even a fictional character, who is a good person, by the way, can in any way interact with, support, or display the Confederate flag. Some serious pretending there were no swastikas in World War II vibes here," end quote. So my thoughts on it were, I mean, this has kind of been a trend over the past year and a half or so, or 2 years, where the Confederate flag across the entertainment industry as a whole has been sort of getting pulled, removed, censored, suppressed. So I'm not necessarily surprised, I would say, but from Rockstar, this is an interesting move because they've kind of always been pushing the boundaries of things. But I mean, if you think about it, the Confederate flag, I guess, what isn't necessarily core to the story, right? So them pulling it won't really affect anything in that way whatsoever. But I guess you could say it did sort of aid in like creating this sort of complete picture of this character and like who he is and what he does and what he's all about.
Mm.
So, and I guess with the recent removal of the OG versions for the digital versions, now I guess there really won't be a way to get this unless you have a physical copy or you had purchased
Which
the digital version
Which
before.
I'm interested to see what happens with those, because they I think someone interviewed them and they said they are gone for now, but they might come back at some point. So I don't know if they'll actually go into that code and switch it out on there, or just re-release them as originally made, right? So we'll see what
Mhm.
happens. But I think you make a good point as far as like from Rockstar. I'm a little surprised because Rockstar has not given a fuck for the longest time. For the longest time, I listened to their radio
20 plus
stations,
years.
man.
Yeah.
Even post PC world or whatever, they didn't care, man. Like, all the crap that's going on in that in GTA 5, if you look at the little videos or the little clips, it's like that's not that old, and they're just kind of messing around. So I don't know. I'm interested to kind of hear them out on why they kind of maybe felt some pressure on it, because that, right now everyone's feeling a little bit of pressure, but you do appreciate when there's like pushback on it. Like, for example, the Dave Chappelle special thing that they wanted to get pulled, and Netflix, I think the president, I know he put his foot in his mouth for a little bit, right? But eventually cleaned up his messaging and said, you know what, on Netflix, there's going to be stuff you like and there's going to be stuff you don't like. And this is going to be one of these ones that you don't like, so there's got to be room for it. I feel like there should be room for it, but there should be a discussion for it too. If people are offended by it, sure, but I don't know if anybody was making a big stink out of it, though. I guess it's the interesting thing here, right? They
Right.
just kind of did it themselves. Like, they proactively were like, you know what, let's just switch that out. Deo, what do you think, man, on this whole little
Well,
ordeal?
Well, I think because the remasters are meant for a different audience, for like a newer player base audience. I think that's what they had to do, to preemptively remove that kind of symbology ahead of time, which is weird because normally Rockstar doesn't shy away from that kind of controversy. Normally, it like helps them, ironically enough,
Yeah.
to help advertise the game. But I think with this type of social climate that we're in, I think they were just trying to, nip the bud ahead of time, to
Yeah.
avoid any like any kickback that like a lot of the entertainment industry, movie industry, or whatever has been experiencing the last 2 years. I think it's okay, because if like you guys said, like if you want to really experience the real way how to play this, you could go and play the older versions of the game. Not necessarily that what do you call it, the emulated version, but you could go buy out a physical copy of the PlayStation 2 game,
Yeah.
and then it'll all still be
and,
there.
and they're not completely like not they're not completely against removing content that is like unsavory. I mean, the hot coffee thing that happened, they were trying to like stamp that out really quickly, right? With the
Yeah,
release of,
yeah.
of San Andreas on PC, they were like, wait, hold on, hold the phone. We need to actually get new copies out there because that's not as intended, right? But this one's kind of like more on the story end of things, and yeah, as far as I could tell, there was no pressure for them. They decided on it, which is it's usually kind of how like I'm okay with that, I mean, either way, like if you're okay with it or not, who cares, right? It's the own developer. It's like with the Resident Evil 4 thing that we talked about on reasonably hype last time, is that Capcom themselves said, we're gonna move these things around, we're gonna shift these kind of lines around, we're gonna blur some things where to us it makes sense, where you're working with the creators, right? And of course, like, video games are kind of in that like weird intersection, I guess, because it is a story that you can make or you can experience in the game, but it's also like fluid, that gamers are making up stories, right? Like when you're playing online in GTA. Stop logging into GTA 5, by the way.
Nope.
But I have to throw that in there. But gamers are making their own stories, right? So it's kind of a fluid.
choice.
It's a fluid kind of a narrative type of thing. I know back in the day, EGM, if you can remember, Deo or One Up, when there was like the Ludo narrative, like they were getting real deep with that crap years ago, and I enjoyed it. But it is definitely one of those things where as long as the creator, I think, makes a decision on it, and like they have they have the ultimate say, and no, there's no push. They were like, let's just switch it around. They obviously didn't feel like it was critical or integral to that character, right? He's still an asshole, whatever shirt he's wearing, right? So, we'll see what happens for that.
This is one of those things too that I don't know I would necessarily have noticed if this didn't like show up on the news feed, right? I wouldn't have loaded up Vice City and been like, wait a minute, Phil, he looks, I don't like this. What's wrong with him, right? Yeah. So
I want my money back.
Exactly. All right. Well, we'll move on from that. Unless Deo, you got anything else to say on that before we move on?
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to here to quick takes. On quick takes, so we were just talking about the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy collection. They finally confirmed it, even though we've been talking about it for like months. It seems like if you go back a couple months, we've been talking about it on Salient Points for a while now. But they finally confirmed it. They did a trailer and everything. The collection is coming November 11th. What's interesting is that GTA San Andreas is coming to Game Pass, which is kind of interesting. But GTA 3 will be coming to PlayStation Now, and I believe that's in December, whereas San Andreas on Game Pass I think is day one. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little conflicted because all I want is trophies, but I do want to play a game day one with Game Pass. So I think I might dip into the Game Pass version and wait for the physical one, which the physical one, they're doing that what is that one game, Kenna Bridge of Spirits kind of strategy to it, where digital first and then the physical later, which I don't like that at all. But apparently GTA Trilogy Collection is the physical one, is not out till December, so I might dip into San Andreas a little bit Game Pass wise and then get the physical and gets me some trophies. Deo, what are your thoughts, man, on that they finally confirmed this thing, that it's out? Did you see the trailer, by the way? What'd you think of the graphics and all that stuff?
I have no problem with it. It's very cartoony, which if like, old gamers remember, and it's like old's relative term, but like that original trilogy was just wacky as hell. And so it just cartoonified all the violence and all the mayhem that happens in those games and the storylines and the satire of America.
Yeah.
So it's more comical nowadays. I kind of don't like how, because they changed up the aesthetic of it, is that it's less gritty compared to like the original. Because I've been playing through the original San Andreas, and I was like, man, this is like, I remember being like really adult.
But let's Dale, let me stop you right there though, real quick. Make it a little spicy. Now, was that grittiness or was that fucking motion blur on GTA 3 that you're thinking about, man? Like, what is it? Is it the crazy ass? Is it the crazy ass motion blur? Is it the grittiness, man? Like,
oh man, my PlayStation 2 was struggling trying to.
Oh, dude, they were like, the PlayStation, like, what do I do? Motion blur everywhere. But I think that, you know what? It's interesting you say that though, because I think they've been pretty goofy, like going back to even like the 2D overhead ones. I think they reined it in a little bit with GTA 4. I remember GTA 4 was kind of like, let's kind of make it a little more gritty, a little more realistic or whatever. They don't even have goofy rockets or planes in that game, if you guys remember. They barely had the cool little slow-mo camera that I like to do, go in slow-mo and do drive-bys and see how many stars I can get.
They didn't have like rage stuff going on in GTA 4. Like, they didn't do any of that stuff until the DLC, The Ballad of Gay Tony.
Yeah.
That's when they introduced a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and then it wasn't until 5 where they're like, let's kind of make it a little more wacky again. But it's definitely taking a turn for they were true satires. GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, right? Like, you're talking about GTA 3 was like kind of like the Godfather type of stuff. Vice City, you got Scarface, Carlito's Way, that kind of stuff. And then with San Andreas, like Boys in the Hood and all that stuff. So they were true satires, right? Whereas where 4, they were like, nah, we got our own stories to tell, kind of thing. Luis, what are your thoughts on this, man? That they finally said, yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, we all saw it coming, right? It was just a matter of when they would announce it. I think that the thing that most people were sort of curious about was what it would look like, because the wording of new and old graphics. I was always, since the beginning, I always voiced to you and Dalen that I thought this was going to be more than just up-res textures or whatever. So it does seem like they did make decisions on what they wanted to look more realistic versus like anything that's sort of character related is definitely in that like art style with an upgraded look.
Yeah.
They still do have the hands like this, but they're separated, which is interesting. But
they separate by a little bit. Okay, now they have fingers. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited because I've actually been wanting to replay these games, and I have San Andreas on my PC, but I always think about like, damn, I'm probably just gonna hate that experience, like the gameplay wise.
Yeah.
So that's why I haven't jumped into it. But yeah, I'm excited to see more than anything what these gameplay improvements they're talking about are. We'll see.
Anything to push out GTA 6 even further, man. Anything, just give it to us. Just give it to us. Don't ever give us GTA 6. Stop logging into GTA 5. I thought
Yeah.
I thought I saw you say something about on Twitter, Dale. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that you were just sticking to the old ones though. Was there something that you didn't like about this new collection, or did I read you wrong out there?
No, it's so what I was surprised about when they debuted that trailer for this remaster is that it's pretty significant change for a lot of the graphics and the gameplay. Like it's gonna play like GTA 5 and whatnot.
That's what's hype. That's what's got me kind of interested. Yeah,
because I've been playing through the original series now, because I just wanted to like relive a lot of those GTA moments, and see and just be refreshed on like the worlds and how crazy
those are really long game, man. Those
are.
are really long games. Now, are you up to San Andreas, or you're still playing through 3 Vice City, or how are you doing it?
No, so I just want so what I did was that I bought before they got delisted the digital versions on the PlayStation service. I bought the original emulation of the PlayStation 2 games on PlayStation 4. So then I've been playing it on my PlayStation 5. And I demoed GTA 3 for like maybe an hour, and I was like, "This is fun, but man, it's jank.
It's
so
rough, dude.
jank.
How do you
It's
like?
rough."
How do you like how the doors don't fall off, or the hood will
Oh my-
stay on forever, dude? It will never fly off. It will never fly. I remember playing that game. So the motion blur was one of the things that I remember from that. The other thing I remember is going back after playing Vice City, and I'm like, I gotta crash into something because this hood is bothering me. The fact that it just doesn't fly off. So. It's a lot of
Same thing
wackiness.
with
With what? I'm sorry.
With the doors.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Yeah, if they don't close, I have to like smash it against something or try to close it myself or something. Like,
You know what? It was the future. We were living in the future. We didn't know any better. The other thing that we're living in the future about apparently is that finally the Nintendo 64 and Genesis store went live yesterday on the eShop. We talked about it on Reasonably Hyped a little bit, Dale. We were like, it's kind of ridiculous. So, but I want to hear from Lise then on this one first. Lisa, what are your thoughts, man? You dropping the 50 on this new Nintendo scheme,
I don't
right?
think so, man.
Okay.
I don't think so. Until I hear more about what their plans are. Like, I mean, we talked about this, but I don't. Animal Crossing's not a big selling point for me. I do like the game. I had fun with it. It was a time that passed. I don't see myself ever going back to that game for a frog chair. And
Yeah.
when like I had told you, if you do the math and say, because you can buy the thing separately, right? $25. Take that away. Really, all I should be paying for is $5 extra for N64 and Genesis if I don't want to get Animal Crossing, and if that's the only other incentive. So until they, and like I had said, if they want to play with the big boys on those prices, then they got to match what their incentives are every single month, a free game, every single whatever, which could be just me being, selfish or whatever.
Being
But
petty,
uh,
a little petty, but
I don't know about petty, but
Okay.
because it's like, I mean, obviously these aren't just straight ports for the N64 and
Yeah.
Genesis. They are all these games that they're adding to these services. There is online play. There's checkpoint saving. There's all this stuff. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's an old game. Like I'm not. So I wouldn't necessarily count those as like the free games per month or whatever that they're going
They're
for.
gonna give you Banjo Kazooie at some point, man. What more could you want? What
Jet
more
Force Gemini,
could you?
maybe?
Look, I love me those big DC shoe boots. All right, I remember those big DC shoe boots from Jet Force Gemini, but it's kind of trash,
Yeah.
man. I went back to play on the Rare Collection or whatever, Rare Replay, and I was like, damn, I was dumb as a child. But the story's kind of cool. The story and all that stuff, the little vibe to it
I
is
mean,
pretty
they have
cool.
a flying dog.
That's what I'm about to say. You had a flying dog, and then you had a little multiplayer mode in it where you kind of could zip around like what is that? The off-road racing from the arcades, remember, with the big old wheel that you're like, that shit was not driving how you needed it to. Dale, you did you change your mind since last we spoke on this? Are you dipping into the eShop for Genesis and N64 games?
since reasonably hyped? No, I have not.
Okay.
That doesn't change it. Although I would like to try Jet Force Gemini. Was it?
Yeah, Jet Force Gemini. That's what they have
Not
to
on there now though.
look. Don't
I never got to
even
play it.
don't even concern yourself with trying it on the Switch. You already have it. Game Pass. Wait, damn it. Do you have do you have Rare Replay? Because I don't know if that's on Game Pass. That's like conspicuously missing from Game Pass, I think. You need a copy of it. But yeah, that Jet Force Gemini is on there. Perfect Dark is on there. Conquerors, I think, is also on there.
I remember Conqueror being on there.
Yeah, but yeah, anything else, Dale, before we move on to the next thing?
No, not really.
Speaking about Game Pass and Xbox, so the Xbox studio boss, Phil Spencer, he had plenty to say, man, this past week. One of his main things, one of the things he said is that they're definitely not done buying game studios, and as far as he's concerned, there is no quota. So that's quote unquote from him. And also, he also said that he knows they're lagging behind Sony in big tentpole games, and my response is no shit. But you like hearing that, I guess, from the bosses, right? From the top of that they're like, you know what, we're kind of hungry, we're still trying to get things going, right? And we're still trying to catch Sony and all this. We don't have our own Horizon quite yet, we don't have our Last of Us. They do have Halo and Forza, but at some point they gotta get something new, man. They gotta get something going. Dale, what do you think about Phil Spencer, man? What he's been saying this past week?
Yeah, I'm really happy that he recognizes it. It sucks that with all the new acquisitions they've made, it does take a long time to develop new franchises and IP, and to get your studios going. Because I think like when Hellblade was announced, Hellblade 2 was announced, that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But I've been looking on Twitter and they just barely moved in to that studio, like their new studio or some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like, man, that's gonna be a while. But it's good that they recognize like their weaknesses right now, which is basically the hardcore like gamer that consumes really great AAA type of titles that are loyal to a brand, which Sony definitely has down pat with like Spider-Man and Insomniac Games and Naughty Dog and everything going.
And their only option really, like you're saying, it does take a long time to kind of get these things going. Their only option really was to buy into kind of a development house already, right? That's kind of established, like the big playing catch up, and the fact that they bought Bethesda, and Bethesda was already knee deep into what's that game called, Skyfall, whatever it's called, the next game they're working on, Starfield, right? These guys were already working on this stuff. They were already like into Doom or whatever the next iteration of Doom is. They had to pay a pretty penny for it, right? And I like how the fanboys or whoever are upset. It's like, what do you mean you said it wasn't going to be exclusive? Like, what you pay $1 billion, multiple billions of dollars, and you don't expect that there's going to be exclusives. So it is one of those things, but I kind of like it though, because they've made some big acquisitions, like you were saying, Bethesda and the Hellblade, or was it Hellblade? No,
Ninja Theory.
Yeah, Ninja Theory. So they made some big purchases, and they're not done. Like he said, there's no quota. They still got ways to go. Luis, what are your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, I mean they are definitely playing a different game than Sony right now. They're playing the long game. They're planting the seeds for sort of solidifying their future on Xbox, I guess, and for what other games are to come, whatever they may be, because we don't even really know yet, right? But yeah, I mean, I would still argue that Sony is all. I mean, they do have like the Spider-Mans and the Last of Us games, but everything's getting delayed, dude. So like everybody's behind right now. Like the last big game that they released, what was it, like Ratchet and Clank or something?
Yeah, was it? Yeah, Ratchet might have been the big.
Horizon 2, I think also.
All right. Well, that one's still coming up, and they delayed that one. They pushed that one. Okay. Yeah, that's coming in January.
And it's not PS5 exclusive, so that's like
that's true.
They say it was not holding it back, but we'll see. When we dip into that water, we're gonna find out some shit. They're like, here goes the PS4 code floating around. But so look. So speaking on that, like they still have some catching up to do. So Call of Duty Vanguard is getting some PlayStation exclusive content for when it drops. It's coming out in a couple weeks, man. Oh, no, like next week. I'm kind of hyped. It's the summer blockbuster game. It's basically gaming summer blockbuster game. But there's going to be PlayStation exclusive content on that. And we were talking about Xbox. They won't get that content till next year, till November 2022, which is kind of it's just par for the course, right? Like it's been like that forever. You gotta wait a year. For Destiny, I believe it was like that too, where it was like PlayStation exclusive, and then you had to wait till next year to get it on Xbox. We didn't care though, because we're trying to get trophies and we're on PlayStation. But people kind of care. It's kind of a big deal, even though it's like a year type of thing. Do you think it's that big of a deal, Deo, or is it just kind of like? I mean, it is what it is.
For this year, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Normally, the Call of Duty
Halo
is pretty big because of Halo, right?
Of Halo,
yeah. If Xbox didn't have Halo right now to fill in that first person need, then it's okay. But I don't know. This Vanguard game is not looking too hot for me anyway. There's a lot of Call of Duty is Call of Duty. People are gonna still buy it just on name recognition alone, and they're gonna sell a bunch of it. But in terms of exclusivity for the DLC stuff, like there's a lot more choice out there this holiday season with like Halo, with Battlefield, even Far Cry 6. Like I heard that one's doing pretty well the past couple of weeks right now.
Yeah, Far Cry 6 is. I've been meaning to talk about it on the podcast, but it's sitting there because I've been playing through Metroid. Through all the Metroids, I've made that decision. I think that's a very fair salient point, might I say. That if there wasn't a Halo Infinite, then I think maybe it'd be a bigger deal. I mean, you still get the story, you still get the multiplayer, people will play on it and all that. But I think it's definitely like it's kind of interesting that kind of was making the rounds, right? There's like, oh, it's not coming out till next year. It's like, we've seen this before. It's not the first time. The other thing, though, staying on PlayStation, they did announce that there's going to be a State of Play October 27th. It's going to be, so I believe that's a Thursday. It's a couple days from now, or Wednesday. I don't know, someday. But it's gonna be 20 minutes of third-party games. I don't know what to expect. They usually show some pretty cool stuff, right? I mean, they're obviously not gonna show Last of Us and that kind of more Horizon or God of War or anything. But 20 minutes of third-party games, I'm pretty hyped for it. Luis, what about you, man? Anything? What do you think we'll see?
I do like that this is a new trend where they kind of, before any sort of video or whatever comes up, like Nintendo's been doing, and then also Sony, where they kind of already tell you before you even watch it, like, don't expect this. You're like, okay, fine. But yeah, I'm curious to see what they can show in 20 minutes, because that's not a lot of time for that many games. At least I don't think so. So we'll see.
We'll still get like kind of thrown around with this disembodied voice of like, oh, next on State of Play, you got this game from the studio that brought you Ninja Theory or whatever it's called. So it's still plenty of time, right? They'll just cut it down.
I don't necessarily know what to expect though. I don't have any expectations or anything. I'm just gonna throw it on, put it on while I'm working, and then see what catches my ear. So yeah. All
right, Deo, what about you, man? Are you kind of hyped for this or?
I'm pretty hyped. Yeah. It could be a sizzle reel. Like it might not be like one big showcase game. Although I am looking forward to more of what's that one game called? Oh, Forspoken by Square Enix.
Okay.
And the long shots like Final Fantasy 16 or whatever.
That's true.
Yeah, it could showcase like a new like ending type of third party game. What was that one called? Oh, Pragmata by Capcom. They haven't shown anything of that since they debuted the PlayStation 5 system itself, but it should round up like a bunch of the roster for Sony exclusive for 2022. So if they could, I mean, there's a lot of blockbusters coming out next year because of everyone crunching right now.
February's gonna be hot, man. February, everything it's like got thrown into February, man.
It's gonna be so brutal, like on everyone's wallets and everyone's time. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, the time specifically. Hey, if you guys know where they sell time, man, I'm always looking for time. I'm always looking to buy time. So if you guys let me know where it's at. But yeah, State of Play, that's coming October 27th. We'll probably get a little reasonably hyped maybe or something. We'll see. We'll see how hyped we are about that one. Other than that, we move on to what you've been playing. Luis, man, what you been playing lately, man? What was past week?
Yeah, so as promised from last week's episode, I did finish Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Saying it here right now, game of the year for me. No, I'm just fucking with you, Dale.
Okay.
But,
okay. Okay, reasonable. Oh, Dale.
He's got opinions on it.
Game of the children's game of the year.
Children game. Hey, Dale, I was gonna say, for this year's like we got Comms Game of the Year, man. We're gonna have to throw you in there, man, into the mix. Everyone's
I'm down.
everyone's got a vote. Everyone's got a vote on Game of the Year. So we know Luis's. Thanks for blowing your load on there, Luis. Thanks for letting us know that is a Ratchet and Clank front
Overall,
runner.
yeah, it was a fine game. It was a fun game. It filled in a bit of a void that I had, but yeah, I wouldn't give it that much of a huge praise. Like it ran beautifully. It looked great. I loved the audio in the game. The story was it was there. I guess it was okay, but yeah. So beat that one. I don't know if I'm in a rush to get the trophies, but we'll see.
It is one of those like Ratchet and Clank is like one of those like pleasant experiences. There's not a lot. There's not a lot of like roadblocks to keep you from beating it. There's not all this like you get to a point where you're like, I gotta level up 10 more points or 15 more points before I can beat it. It's very like, it's a smooth, buttery experience. If that's what you guys are, if you're looking for low friction gaming, and I don't know about you, man, but the game looks fucking beautiful, man. It looks incredible. All right, and the story, well, it's Ratchet. It's Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
But
aside from that, I'm doing some Ghost of Tsushima trophy cleanup before I do the Iki Island expansion. So, man, dude, those temples are so boring, dude. Like I'm
Remind me of the temples. What goes on in the
You just
temple?
like it's like a environmental puzzle. You have to kind of find your way up to the top of the temple. Every single one is like you go to the entrance and like the bridge has been broken.
I see. So you gotta. Oh, I love those, man. I actually did. Maybe love is a.
I think if I had thrown them in while I was playing the story, it would have been different. But since I'm just doing them back to back to back with like the guiding wind and just jumping from one to the next,
That's
like, oh my god, I just want to fight some enemies.
Yeah, so, I can't remember getting stuck on one or two of them. Like, where do I jump? Which tree branch do I need to get to?
Follow the
Which
white flower, dude.
Sometimes that shit don't help. It really doesn't. Dale, you had some thoughts on Ghost of Tsushima of like the temples and stuff?
Yeah, I actually really like a lot of the temple stuff. I would not want to do it back to back though, man. That's just that just sounds really kind of tedious. But I do want to get the trophies for Ghost of Tsushima because when I finished it finally this past year, I was like, man, this is a fucking great game actually.
Yeah.
And I want to keep playing through it and support Sucker Punch and what they're doing over there, and I want to complete enough of it so I could get to the Iki Island stuff.
Now, how did you feel about that Sly Cooper style jump? How did you feel about that?
That's okay.
Okay. At least for a while, I was like, I don't see it. I was like, oh, jump a few more times, and you'll see. And picture a squirrel or picture a raccoon. That's a jump. They literally said you're gonna jump like Raccoonus in
replace
Ghost
the Sly's little cane.
he has that little staff. He has that little staff just with the sword. Yeah, exactly. And then just jump around. You'll feel it. Oh, you'll see that they've been using the same fucking physics since 2002. So, but those are good games. You've been playing some good gaming, at least. What about you, Dale? I know you talked a little bit about San Andreas, right? So I don't know if you want to give us a little bit more of that.
Yeah, the main reason why I wanted to play the older version was just to see like how big of a jump it would be from the OG PlayStation 2 versions to the new remaster version. And like I said earlier, like GTA 3 was hard to get through because it's so much jank. San Andreas is definitely my favorite of the bunch, and I'm parallel playing San Andreas and Vice City right now. But the story in San Andreas to me is just like amazing. Like that drives me through the entire experience, being like West Coast kids like during the 90s during that time, like man, I did see a cultural shift.
I don't know if I saw like a poll or something on Twitter, but that was interesting to see, man. Like they were like, which was your favorite one? 3, Vice City, maybe it was IGN or GameSpot or one of those. Which one? And like it was like 68% like San Andreas, and I'm like, damn, I like San Andreas, and like you're saying, we're West Coast kids type of thing, and it's actually even closer to me. Well, no, there's a Bay Area kind of section in that game, right? A little bit, right? A little taste of it. But I just really love Vice City, man. I don't know what it is. I really like. Maybe we've talked about it, I think, a couple times here before, but maybe it's because I didn't have a memory card when Vice City came out, and all I did was that first scene. Tommy Vercetti.
They'll never let him out.
Yeah, Tommy Vercetti. They'll never let him out. Whereas maybe by the time San Andreas came out, maybe I finally had a memory card, so it was kind of like I just played through it Whereas Vice City, I don't know. Like I just and I kept hearing the Beat It song right at the very beginning when you get out of the car. The vibe of it. I know I'm not even from the 80s. I was born in 87. I'll just throw that out there. But I'm definitely not. My formative years were not the 80s. So for whatever reason, I was just captured by Vice City more than San Andreas. But I'm sorry about that, Dave. I interrupted you on there. Please continue.
That's perfectly fine. Like it's interesting you brought up "Beat It" by Michael Jackson. So like in the version that I bought off the PSN store, it's not in there.
Yeah.
So what I'm scared about the remasters is that a lot of those original songs that were in those games have been pretty much cut due to the licensing and everything. So it'll be interesting to see if they refill in those songs with something else or something generic that's not copyright or something. But it's kind of a shame.
Yeah, the best example I can think of was with the last Tony Hawk remake. Yes, Luis, it's the 10th time I bought Tony Hawk. I get it. But with the last one, so there's some songs missing, but for the most part, most of the songs are there. And they actually put in some new songs that I was like, oh, this fits perfectly with the vibe of that time, even though they're like newer songs from the last few years. So yeah, that's one of the things I was thinking about when we were talking about it earlier, actually. It's like, what do they do with the soundtrack? Because I remember they even did like a 10-disc collection, like at least for Vice City, probably for San Andreas too, but it was like legit, this is every song that's in the game, right? And they did like a little
bangers,
it was pretty nice.
I think I was hunting down actually those collections on eBay like 2-3 months ago, and those things are still like $90 for a collection of CDs, like physical media CDs that came out back in like 2005. It's nuts.
I bought one of those at Walmart, the Wave 103 CD.
Yeah.
So they were even at Walmart, huh? They were readily available. Maybe not the whole box set, right? But individually, I'm assuming. Yeah. Anything else on that, Dale, before you talk about the other game you've been playing?
No. I'm just really looking forward to finishing San Andreas and Vice City, and then hopefully going to the remasters. I'm not a big.
These are long games,
like
man.
You are, so I'm doing only Critical Path stuff, and I'm having a blast.
Oh, but I am a fan of Critical Path in everything, especially on Xbox, because I'm like achievements, whatevs. I'm very Critical Pathing on Xbox. So what else would you been playing this past week?
Oh, and then so the other game I've been playing is a game that came out, I think it was 2016. It's a puzzle game called The Witness. And it's basically like Myst.
It's Jonathan Blow's follow-up, right? Like after Braid, right?
After Braid.
It's the drawing these squares, filling these square puzzles here.
So as opposed to Braid, where like Braid was more like time mechanics for the puzzles and everything, like this one is definitely more environmental. And the way it's the hardest game I've ever put my brain through, because you have to like really think about what the puzzles are. Like, and have you guys like played this game at all?
I think it was free on PlayStation Plus or something, right? At some point, and I might have gone to the first puzzle and I was like, I'm out of here. I'm gone from this. I'm not down. But how many puzzles is there total?
There's a lot.
Okay.
I think right now I'm at 20 hours and I've solved 216 puzzles, something like that. But the most interesting thing about, they're very simple. The problem is that you have to figure out what the rules are for each one of these puzzles. So the game, the reason why it's really hard is that it doesn't hold your hand with anything. Like you just gotta trial and error sometimes and figure out like, oh, this is what this, like if this happens, then I know that this result happens, and like you have to like mix and match some of the puzzles in order to do it. But once you have the rules down in order to solve these puzzles,
do they do the puzzles tie from one puzzle, it ties to a different section or anything like that, or they're kind of self-contained? Okay.
Yeah. So like basically what you're doing throughout the entire all the puzzle is that it's a grid format of like these segments, and you're supposed to run like you guys remember that Snake game for your cell phone back in the day?
Little
you
Nokia.
Run this snake through like these grid patterns, and you're supposed to guess the correct one, but like they put on like certain rules onto each one of the boards, and then so you're like, okay, this time it's telling me I need to include these dots when I run this snake through this grid or something, or avoid these dots with it. And then they have other rules, and then they combine both rules into like one board, and then you're supposed to figure out that way. And I don't know, it's very interesting, because like once you get that eureka moment of like figuring it out, you feel like a badass. You feel so genius.
I feel you on that. I feel you on that. It sounds a little death loopy though to me, and it sounds a little time consuming to me too. I must say. Really, and I'm like, I gotta get to sleep soon. Let me get a couple RL matches, a couple Rocket League matches in instead.
Like it's
But
it's 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 to the point where it's like one of those games where like I have such a hard time solving one of the puzzles that I need to take a break. I gotta play something stupid for my brain to like satisfy itself sometimes.
yeah.
And that's why it's been taking me so long to finish this game, is because it's like one of those games, like it's like when you're solving like a big ass puzzle, like a little like jigsaw puzzle, like, and then you go to it and you maybe do like 5-10 pieces and you're like, okay, I'm done for tonight, I'm gonna return back to it.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
that's the kind of how I've been playing it.
All right.
But I'm trying to get that out of my backlog because I want to move on from it now.
Just move on, dude. Like, just look how I did. Just do it like how I did it. I did the first puzzle, and I was like, I'm getting the fuck up out of here now. I've seen enough. I've seen enough. But
I have too much pride.
no, I look. I got you, man. There's some games that push it. They definitely like. You're like, you know what? I just gotta see this through. I gotta, no matter how painful it is. I'm talking to you, Trine series. I think I beat 2 of the tries. I should have learned after the first one, but apparently not.
That's when I gave up. I gave up on that.
Oh, that game it's interesting. I think what it was the physics were a little too wacky, man. Like they were inconsistent as fuck. It's like, why did you guys do this like this? Why,
The
like
best example of that is the world ends with you, right? Where you just like gave up on it at some
oh
point.
yeah. No, but see, the world ends with you. That what helped with that is that I found out there was an anime series, and I was like, I'm just gonna watch that. I'm done with this game. I'm not doing this anymore. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The ones I haven't given up on yet though is Samus Returns. I finally beat that. That was kind of nice. That I really did like that, and I think Samus Returns, which is kind of the remake of Metroid 2 on the original Game Boy, black and white Game Boy, right? They remade it, and I forgot until I got to the credits that I see. Wait, it was like, who are all these Mexican people working on this game? It was like, oh, that's right, Mercury Steam is a Spanish studio. I forgot all about it. I see it's Fernandez. I see, I'm like, what's happening here? And I was like, I like that. I do like that. That it was like, okay, I forgot there's a Spanish studio, and I know they were going. We didn't throw it into the news, but they're kind of going through a little bit of thing right now because Mercury Steam also worked on the new one, and there's a guy that's like, I didn't get into the credits of the new Metroid Dread, right? They were he didn't hit the threshold of 25% working on the game or something like that. But so that kind of sucks. But the actual game, Samus Returns, I did like it. There was a point where I was like, you know what? I think I want to be done with this game because I remember telling Dalen, I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but I think off air, I told him, was like, dude, it's like the same bosses over and over. And I feel like the bosses are still not that varied. It's really just little Metroids you're finding. I guess that's part of the story. But you do get into some cool battles. And at the very end, you get into a battle with Ridley, which is kind of nice and epic. And it takes a while. It took me multiple tries to beat him. But I'm glad I did. And I was kind of like, all right, I'll just go into Dread. But then I was like, you know what? I do have Super Metroid I haven't beat. And that's like on the Switch with the Nintendo Online Basic Service, apparently. Because now we have exclusive Genesis and N64 nonsense. But that's on the Basic Service. And I don't know about you guys, man, but Super Metroid kind of holds up. It's kind of nice. Some of it's a little wonky because you're talking about like, Super Nintendo 1994. Like the fact that you have to press select and keep pressing select until you get to the weapon you want. And then in these games, you get a whole bunch of power-ups, right? So you have to get through to for example, say if you want to get to the grapple beam or whatever, you have to get through the rockets, through the super rockets, through the super bomb, and then you could get into your grapple. So it's kind of wacky, but it surprisingly still holds up, man. And the bosses are still kind of cool that they take up the whole screen and everything. So if you guys get a chance, I would, like I said, I was gonna do Samus Returns after playing Zero Mission, and I was like, let me just go into Dread. But at this point, I'm sorry, Far Cry 6. You're gonna have to wait. I got Metro Fusion after this, but yeah, I think that's it. Have you guys gotten into them? Dale, what's your Metroid history? Have you played any of these games? Any of the 2D ones?
I've played all of them except Zero Mission. That's
okay.
The only. And I've been like I was doing what you were doing, where I played through Zero Mission first.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to get to Super Metroid, and then you're right about the weapon select though. Like going from Zero Mission and going to Super Metroid and trying to select the rockets when you need it. Like I always waste so much more ammo than I need to. I was like, oh my super rockets.
I got the wrong one. I got the wrong one.
So now I have to go back into like one of the rooms to like kill a bunch of enemies just to get the ammo back, and I'm like, oh, this is such a
You know
pain.
what's really messed up about Super Metroid? And like, I know like this is what people miss, quote unquote, blah blah blah. I don't miss this shit. But in Super Metroid, like you can literally miss power ups. Like I miss one already. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I can't get back up. I have to like, at some point I can. I'm sure I'll figure it out. But how did I miss an important like power up? Like it's the game just lets you miss it. Like whereas like Metroid Zero Mission or Samus Returns, no, they're kind of, yes, you have the freedom of going around the whole map and you kind of have to figure it out. But it's not going to let you miss power-ups. Like, it's like you will get to the power-up you need. And
They put it in your way in order to progress into the thing. Yeah, Super Metroid, I remember always like that. And I don't know, maybe it's nostalgia, but I kind of like that because it helped with the replayability a little bit. Like, because it was like when you're a kid, it's like, oh, you only get one game per system. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to play the heck out of this game.
Yeah.
The time, but yeah, nowadays I'm like, it's a little bit
and
dated.
you kind of optimize it, right? Like when you go back through, it's like, oh, I gotta make sure I don't forget this beam or whatever. I missed I think it's the phaser beam. I don't have the phaser beam right now, so I have to go back and get it somehow, and it kind of pisses me off. But so I'm all this, but it's funny how like sort of inconsistent the games are, right? Like Mario is definitely like one of those things where it mastered the jump. Like you go from game to game. They switched it up for 2 a little bit, but that's really because it was a different game. I don't know what they called it. It's like Doki Doki Panic or something like that, or something, right? Where it was obviously a different game, and then they were like, okay, slap Super Mario Brothers 2 on it, and we're good. But other than that, like 1, 3, and like Super Mario Brothers, like they were consistent on the way Mario jumps, right? And Samus kind of controls the same, but the mechanics of it are a little different, right? And it's like a little different where, like I was saying, with 2 is kind of doesn't have that many bosses. Super Metroid, I've ran into some really cool bosses already, but it's annoying that the select thing. And Metroid Fusion, I played a little bit, but it's really story heavy versus the other one. So I'm kind of like interested in Dread, how I'll feel about it. Have you tried Dread, by the way, or no? Have you dipped into that one yet?
I haven't.
Oh, okay.
No.
We'll get
Too
around
many
to
other
it.
stuff to play eventually.
Well, avid listeners, viewers, we'll eventually get to all these games you're interested in at some point, but we're doing these crazy little let me run through my backlog here. So we'll end it on this kind of talking about Metroid here. The Tetris 99 Maximus Cup, this is a thing that I'm always hyped for. I think I brought it up before, but they do it kind of like Friday to Sunday where you go into Tetris 99 for the Switch, and they're doing Metroid Dread this time around starting October 29th, so I'm gonna make sure to hit that up. Are you guys gonna hit that up, or Luis, are you a Tetris 99? Okay, whatever, that's cool. That's cool.
I don't have Nintendo Online, so.
Oh damn! Not even the basic service with no private chat, no nothing. Damn.
I haven't had it for like a year and a half. It's been a long time.
So that's what
I haven't touched my Switch in forever. The only time I would have done it was with Metroid Dread.
Oh, okay.
But I've just been playing all my old Metroids on my Wii U.
I gotta bust out that Wii U, man. I mainly because of Splatoon. I've never beat Splatoon. I kind of want to go through that campaign before the battery clock in the Wii U dies or something like that. Does that have a battery clock situation to it? You know how like the PS2 or something like that has like a clock that will die on it or something?
I haven't heard anything yet. Maybe. Well, I don't know. Nintendo products they last pretty well. I think the gamepad itself will die eventually because the battery's hard to find for.
The console itself, like the shell, that will yellow out a little bit, but it's fine. It'll still work. Well, look, that's been an episode of Salient Points. Again, I'm your host, Carlos Macias. Go to WeGotComs.com to check out all the fun stuff we got over there. Thank you for joining me as per usually, Mendez, on the Wheels of Steel over there. Thank you for joining me. And it's usually Dalen as per usual, but I guess not this time around. So Dale Blas, thank you for filling in, man. I hope you had a little bit of fun here doing a little crossover episode.
No, it's fantastic. Thanks, guys, for having me.
And like I said, at some point we'll all get together. We'll keep it extra wacky, especially for the end of the year, man. We're gonna have to battle, get those votes in. We're gonna do. I'm thinking like a weighted list. I'm thinking like a little weighted list, just so it's gonna be extra wacky, All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time. See you guys next time. Latest.